Good evening, my viewers. This is the latest edition of the George Ondek Show. Tonight is one of my features I do during the political season called Meet the Candidates. And my first candidate this year is Debbie Carter Costello, who's a Cortland councilwoman.
Yes.
And she's running for the New York State Senate this year.
Correct.
Debbie, welcome to the George Ondek Show.
Thank you so much.
It's my honor to have you tonight. What made you decide to run for the New York State Senate this year? I know you're having a very successful career as a councilwoman in Cortland.
Sure. Well, as you said, I'm a councilwoman in the town of Cortland right now, and we've accomplished so many great things, and I wanted to take that to the next level. There's certain things that I'd like to address that I can't do as a councilwoman. One of those things being that ethics reform. There are so many people, if you ask anyone on the street what they think of their elected officials, they say, oh, they're all corrupt, and we need to change that. We need to restore people's faith in government, and we need to change the whole culture of Albany. You know, a lot of elected officials think that they're above the law, and that's not the way it should be.
No.
We need to change that. And
on any level.
On any level, absolutely. And I intend to be a full-time legislator, and I think we need to strengthen our reporting requirements. And we need to make sure that people are doing the right thing. So that's really important.
What are some of your accomplishments as a councilwoman in Cortland? I understand you've been a councilwoman for about 3 years there now.
Yes. There's so many things that I'm proud of that we've done there. On the environmental front, we put forth a program called Solarize Cortland, where we were able to get 70 homeowners to put solar panels on their roof, which was wonderful. And it was great to just be able to educate the community on different forms of energy and the importance of solar and alternative energy. So that was a really great program. Cortland's known for keeping our taxes low. Over the last 25 years, our taxes have been less than 2%. They haven't gone up. And
that's under the great leadership of Linda Puglisi.
Yes, she's done a wonderful job, and I've learned so much from her. And you've probably heard of the tax cap, and we've never gone above the tax cap. We've always stayed below it.
That's quite an accomplishment.
It is, and that's something that I'm very eager to bring to the state level, because it's really expensive to live in New York State and in Westchester County, and to be able to say that I've proven that we can stay below the tax cap in Cortland, I want to take that to the state and make it more affordable for people to live here.
I wish other communities in northern Westchester could stay within the tax cap. They seem to find reasons to spend more than the
right.
People can afford. For example, this year I'm a senior citizen on a fixed income, and our increase by Social Security was 0.
Right.
So how do we keep up if a town raises 5%, or the county raises 3%, and the school district raises 10%.
Right, right.
They have to think of the people who are paying the bills, and it sounds like that's something you and Linda Puglisi are very interested in.
Yes.
Staying within people's budget and your own budget.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's very, very important.
I like one thing Linda once said to me.
What's that?
If I don't have the money in my pocketbook, I don't spend it.
That's right.
And she thinks of
absolutely.
the people's, taxpayers' money the same way, and I feel that you do too, from what you've told me.
Yes, we're very much a pay-as-you-go. We don't take out loans. Our debt ratio is very, very low. So we've been very good about keeping our taxes low and staying within our budget and staying within our means.
Another thing about Albany, I hear it's very male-dominated. How many female state senators or assembly people are there? Or what percentage?
Yeah, in the New York State Senate, there are 63 senators.
Right.
Of them, only 12 are women. And we've really got to change that, because I truly believe in diversity. And I think that whether you're talking about your company or corporate culture, your state government too, I think it's great to have it reflect your community. And there's certainly a ratio of the 63 to only have 12 women is not reflective of New York State, and we need to change that.
Of course, like even in ethnics, different races, being
Correct.
diverse, male and female being
Absolutely,
diverse.
absolutely.
We need input from everyone
Absolutely.
for government to truly work, because it's a government of the people, by the people, and for the people.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The energy savings, that is a tremendous thing to happen, both for the environment and for saving costs.
Absolutely.
Are the government buildings in Cortland also going solar, or have they?
We actually have an electric charging station for electric vehicles. So that's not
Oh,
solar, but
that's fantastic.
it's another
That's
it's another
good, yeah.
venue.
That's a coming thing.
Yes, yes. Believe there's one at the Cortland train station, and we have one up at Town Hall. We do not have solar panels on our roofs yet, but we are working on it, and we're working on making sure that when we have businesses come to us, that we're emphasizing the importance of them to think about, if they're building new buildings, to incorporate energy efficiencies, whether it's solar or other forms of energy efficiencies.
Another thing I like to do on my show, to get people to know the candidates, to know who they are. Have you lived in this district all of your life?
I have.
Do you have a husband, family, a father with a great
Sure.
name in
Yes.
the district?
Yep. Back in 1950, my grandfather, Edward Carter Sr., opened up Carter Funeral Home.
Oh,
and
of course, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so we've had Carter Funeral Home
Montrose
in
for
Montrose
Plank?
and in Croton. So we have two.
That
And
was your grandfather.
That was my grandfather, correct. And then my father took it over later on. So we've had that business since 1950 in the town of Cortland. I've lived here all my life. I'm married to my husband, James, and I have two girls, Rachel and Jamie. Rachel is a New York City public school teacher, and
Wow.
Jamie is a junior in college.
You're much too young to have grown daughters.
But I've always been very involved in
And
the
I
community.
hear you work in New York City.
I do. I work in New York City. I work for TDX Construction, and we run the MTA's Small Business Mentoring Program,
Wow.
where we help women and minority-owned firms learn how to grow their business.
That is tremendous.
It is, and this is something that I also hope to take to the Senate with me and to New York State and help small businesses grow, because small businesses, they create jobs, they revitalize downtown
backbone of
communities.
America.
Absolutely, and they're so important. And growing up in a small business myself, I understand the struggles that they go through, and we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to keep them viable. And so that's something that I will also be focusing on.
There are other issues that are dear to my heart, and I'd like to ask you where you stand on them.
Okay.
How do you feel about veterans? Yesterday was Vietnam Veterans Recognition Day.
Yes, yes.
And in Yonkers, Mayor Mike Spano honored, and your Linda Puglisi always honors veterans. I'm a member of the Cortland Veterans Committee, although I live in another town.
Right.
That's how much I think of your
Program.
program.
Yeah, no, the town of Cortland has always been extremely supportive of our veterans. Linda has led the cause on this. We have fought over at the VA to keep the VA open, to keep services
Yes.
available. And I'm very proud of the fact that while I've been in my seat, the town of Cortland was the first Purple Heart town in Westchester County. So that was a very exciting honor. And we have a nice memorial set up over by Town Hall. And we are very, very, there's, words can't describe
can't
how
do
much,
enough for
we can't do enough for
And
them.
would you
And
be
we owe a
doing-
debt of gratitude to our
Would
veterans.
you also be having a Veterans Advisory Committee on the state level if you
Oh,
to advise
absolutely,
you on?
absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's something that we need to always support our veterans. They gave everything, they are the reason that we are here, and
You
we have
know,
the liberties that we do.
I don't
and
know if you know this, I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran, and the way we were treated when we first came home was terrible.
It was.
And it's so good to see communities now backing
Absolutely.
Vietnam vets and all veterans.
Right, right.
I'm not a Purple Heart veteran, but I'm a disabled veteran. I got hurt in basic training in the Army, and I got re-hurt in Vietnam during a rocket attack.
We have, actually, if you drive around Cortland, you'll see several veterans monuments
Yes.
around. We've got, one over by Town Hall. We've got one over by the Cortland Town Center. We've got one down in Verplank at the new
I like the
Portland
one
waterfront.
Yes, that's
It's
beautiful. I was
That's-
there for the dedication
Yes,
of that.
that's new.
And another
so-
thing that's very good at the VA hospital, the New York State Veterans Home, which this month you're going to be featuring at your veterans meeting,
Yes.
monthly meeting.
Yes, yes, yes. So, we are definitely, we try our best to take care of our veterans.
Now, one of the big problems in the community and the surrounding communities has been heroin addiction.
Absolutely.
How do you stand, and what will you do about heroin addiction if you were elected to the state senate?
Right. I'm glad you asked, because that's actually one of the other reasons why I wanted to run for New York State Senate. We have an awful heroin addiction problem. Young adults are getting addicted to prescription medicines, and then that's turning into, they switch over to heroin because it's less expensive. And it's such a big problem. In the town of Cortland, we've done a lot to try to combat that. We've had Narcan trainings
I hear
for our
that
community.
Narcan training is very important.
It is.
That emergency responders, if they have this
Yes.
shot, can save a life.
Yes, it's actually a nasal spray, and if you live in the town of Cortland and you have a family member or a neighbor or someone that you know that you're worried about, you can come to the Narcan training, learn how to use it, and actually go home with the Narcan.
Does the state have now a program with that? Are you aware of?
Yes, the state has a
Would you push
program.
that even further if you
I would
became a
push it
state
even further,
senator?
but what I can't do is, as a town councilwoman, it's so devastating. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of deaths in our community due to drug overdose and the
And
heroin.
not only Cortland, I hear about it
Throughout,
in Yorktown, I hear it
absolutely.
in Putnam County,
across the state,
Montrose,
absolutely.
all over.
It's all
And
over.
I don't understand. I don't know much about heroin or drugs, but how did it get so cheap? I hear these people can get a fix for $10, the young kids.
It is very
and
inexpensive.
It's become very widespread. and
Right,
I'm
right.
shocked.
And so one of the things that I think we need to do is, I've spoken to parents who have lost their children due to a heroin
It has to be
overdose.
so sad.
And they have said, I knew my son had a problem. We were waiting to get him into a treatment facility. Or they've said, insurance doesn't cover it, and we could only get them in for 2 days or 3 days, when really, when they have a heroin addiction, they need a treatment much longer than 3 days. And that's not something I can do as a councilwoman. But as a state senator, I will work very hard to make sure that insurance companies are covering in treatment facilities, make sure that we have more beds available, because we need to make sure that we've got all the resources available to help people who need the help. And that's something that I can be much more effective at the state level. And it's so important. It's so important. It sounds cliche, but our children really are our future. They're going to be tomorrow's leaders, and we need to help them.
One important thing in a legislature,
Yeah.
like the state legislature, is people working together.
Yes.
We have a big problem in Congress where the Congress doesn't seem to work with the president. And would you be more of a compromise person who works with the other party if you were elected, or try to work with the other party?
Look, it's always important to try to work across the aisle and to have everybody working together. I think it's unrealistic to say, I'm going to go up and I'm going to do this with or
Right.
without you, because that's not realistic. And you have to understand that it's frequently as a compromise. You're not going to get everything you want, but hopefully when you're working on an issue
It's
with
like give
different
and
sides,
take.
you have to work together. So I will certainly work with my colleagues, the Democratic colleagues in the New York State Senate, but we also certainly need to listen to everybody's points of views, because I look at it this way: if there's an issue and I don't agree with somebody, maybe the reason I don't agree with them is because I don't understand their point of view, or maybe they have information that I don't know, and vice versa. So I think it's always important to try to understand all sides of the story and all different points of view and come up with a solution that's workable.
I heard you say if you go up to Albany, if you were elected to this position, you would be a full-time legislator.
Absolutely. It's my intent to be a
Many
full-time
people who are
legislator.
up there right now are lawyers, or they have another business on the side, and
Yes.
some of them profit from that, and
Yes.
that's where they get themselves in trouble.
Absolutely.
And so you're dedicated to that. If you get elected as state senator, you will give up your other job and you will devote full time towards the state
Absolutely. I have already spoken to my employer and said that I'll be working on my campaign full-time shortly.
Wow, you're going
and
to take a leave of absence.
and I'll be taking a leave of
Wow.
absence, and then, if and when elected, that will be my full-time job, and I will no longer be employed by my current employer. I also look at it, not to, but
Okay.
Taxpayers, we pay our elected officials' salary.
Yes.
And I look at it like, if I'm paying your salary, you, the elected official, you should be spending your time working on things to give back to the community
Of
and to help
course.
your constituents.
Of course.
And so that's a
And
big reason why I
How
want
do
to
you
be.
feel about getting money back to the community from New York State if you became state senator? Grants and
Right. Oh,
things
absolutely.
like
That's
that.
all part of it. I think it's, I think it's very important to be savvy, to be looking at grants that are available, to look at if you have a certain amount of money that's given to you to give out throughout your district.
Like a community development block grant.
Right, and I think you need to look at all of the towns in your district, see what programs are viable, see which ones are shovel-ready and ready to go, versus ones that still have a lot of planning that needs to get done, and be able to give a little bit to everybody, and making sure that you're using that money wisely and choosing those programs that are going to best help the most number of people.
What are one or two issues most important to you that I haven't brought up tonight that you want to talk about, Debbie?
I think ethics reform we've spoken about, that's really
Very
important.
Very important.
Helping small businesses grow, that's very important. I think I told you that I work with the small business mentoring program, helping women and minority-owned businesses grow their firm, and that's something very, very important. And education, we need to make sure that we're providing money to our schools. Right now, there's something called the gap elimination, where New York State kind of held back some of the funding from schools until they balanced their budget, and now that they need to give it back. So we need to make sure that we're providing funding to our schools, and making
How
sure
do you
that
feel about Common Core?
Or
is that too loaded of a question?
Well, it's a little bit of a load. No, actually, there's currently a new chancellor that just took over of
Board of
Education,
Regents.
right? And I believe that they're stopping there's going to be changes to it, and I think
I think that has to be
yes, there
modified.
definitely has to be, as it was. I
And
think we need
local
to stop.
input, not national input or state input.
Right. And I think we need to stop Common Core and take a look, and it's awful that teachers have to teach to the test.
Yes.
My daughter is a New York City public school teacher, and I have a great deal of respect for teachers. And
We have relatives who are teachers too.
yes, my
in New
niece
York
is a
City.
teacher as well. And so I've got my daughter and my niece are both teachers. And, we need to make sure that we are helping our teachers, that we're making sure that they get professional development so that they can continue to teach our kids. And we need to make sure that they're not teaching to the test, that they can actually teach individually and do what's best for each child.
And going strictly by grades is unfair at times too, with a standardized test. Because suppose you're from a poorer district where many students don't even speak the language.
Right.
So it's got to be.
It gets skewed.
Yes.
If you've got a district that has a lower socioeconomic group where and they don't understand English, or those kids are
why
going to
a
struggle
state-
a little bit more.
That's why a national standardized test, it has to be way modified before it passes.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no one right way to do it. I think you need to look at each school, you need to look at the district, you need to look at the makeup of the community, and make sure that you're
How do you
tailoring
feel
it.
about a state official who is convicted of a felony, let's say with graft, still being able to collect a state pension.
I think that's horrible. I think that's horrible.
That's very-
I don't think that they should be able to.
You would fight against that, or you would legislate against that if
Correct.
you go up to it. It
Correct.
doesn't seem right.
No, I think that when it comes to ethics reform, which, like I said, we've got a big problem with, and we need to fix that. I think part of it is reporting requirements and making sure that people are accurately reporting what outside businesses they have and what financial interests they have in other businesses. This way, we can make sure that if they're approving contracts for the state, that they're not benefiting from it and getting a kickback to one of their other businesses.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And I think that we need to make our laws stricter so that elected officials will know that they better do the right thing. Otherwise, it's going to be bad. It's all about doing the right thing. And I can't emphasize that enough.
Another subject, how do you feel about child care and helping on the state level with people who work?
I used to work with the Westchester County Youth Board, and they were very focused on helping low-income families with subsidized daycare, and I think that is so important. Especially with people that have a lower income. I have found that when we slash their funding, it creates such a problem because now they can't work because they don't have a place, they don't have daycare for their children. So if they can't work, then they don't have money coming in to feed their families, and then it just creates an even bigger problem. So we really do need to make sure that we have daycare available and affordable for people.
Now, one subject we talked about was heroin usage
Yes.
among young people. What would you do to expand programs for young people on a state level, let's say teenagers? I know Cortland, the town you live in, does a great job with a teen center. Would you expand programs for young people through the state?
Well, I think I'd like to kind of incorporate that into the education. I think that that's part of it. I think that we need to educate people on both teens and adults. We need to educate young adults and older adults. We need parents to understand the problems with heroin and prescription drug overdoses and addictions.
And doctors, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the education needs to go across the full spectrum of young to old.
And I understand after this show tonight, you're going to a program on that.
I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It's being put on by the Cortland Community Coalition, which is our local group that helps with helping children, young adults to make good choices and staying away from alcohol and drugs. And it's also being sponsored by the Croton Coalition, which has the same program but for Croton. And they're meeting at the Hendrick Hudson Library tonight from 7:30 to 8:30 to talk to the community about the opiate addiction and heroin abuse.
Another thing, Ms. Costello,
Yes.
how have you been involved in the community? Have you been a member of the Leo Club or the Lions Club or the Elks Club?
Sure.
Or Girl Scouts?
My grandfather actually founded the Hendrick Hudson Lions Club back in 1962, I think it was. And my father was a member. Then he brought my sisters and I on to become members of the Lions Club. And it's funny because when I was there, they talked about how they have two big focuses. One is on vision, and one is helping the youth. And so I said, well, what are we doing to help our youth? And we give a scholarship to a graduating high school senior. They do eye screening for the elementary school kids. They do Easter egg hunts. And I said, but what are we doing to help those kids that are in the middle school, high school age kids that really tend to, that's when they start to go off in the wrong direction. And we weren't doing anything. So I decided to create a Leo Club, which is a Lions Club for kids. And it was very, very successful. We started that in 2008, and we had over 60 kids that would come to a meeting every Sunday. We would take them down to New York City to feed the homeless. We would take them to Yorktown for Guiding Eyes for the Blind.
Mentioning, both of those organizations.
Yes.
Lions Club of Yorktown, that's part of your district that you're running in.
Yes.
They put on an excellent thing for the people in the summertime.
They
I think
do, their
Cortland
concerts,
does.
yes,
My wife
concert
and
series,
I live in
yes.
Peekskill, but we always go to their concerts. And
Yeah.
that's great that the Lions Club of Yorktown does that.
Yes,
you
Lions
know?
Clubs are a great organization, and they are actually an international organization. But they're an international organization with a community feel, and each community has one. And I think that's
And
where
all of these community-minded clubs are good. The Rotary Club, do you know what
Absolutely.
they want to do in my hometown of Peekskill? They want to build, plant cherry blossom trees along the Hudson River at Riverfront
Oh,
Green.
isn't that beautiful?
And donate them to the city, $60,000 it would
Very
cost.
nice, very
So
nice.
these are some, and benches. In Verplank, the Rotary Club, or I believe, or the Lions Club, donates benches along Steamboat, what do you call that?
Steamboat Dock.
Dock.
Right, right,
And
right.
that's beautiful. That's
It
beautiful
is.
to go to.
It is, it is. The waterfront development projects are something that I'm also very proud of at the town of Cortland. We just put in a new playground over at Lake Meehaw. We put in a basketball court, and we're just revitalizing the Hudson River, and it's
And you
beautiful.
believe in economic development on the state
Absolutely,
level?
absolutely.
For small businesses?
Absolutely.
Tourism? Getting people to come to New York State?
Absolutely, and we need to make sure we need to make sure we're doing smart economic development.
Right.
We don't want to be overrun
No.
with big businesses, but you also need to realize that they provide income as well. So I think you
A
need
mix,
to temper it.
mix,
Absolutely,
small business
absolutely,
and big business.
absolutely, yeah.
And they both bring dollars into the community
And provide
help
jobs
keep that
and,
taxes
and
down.
keep your taxes down. Absolutely.
I hear other communities jealous of Yorktown because they've attracted the Yorktown, Cortland Town Center and Walmarts, and I understand you're building another development across the street, which will bring business to.
Well, we're not
to
building it,
Cortland.
but yes, there
Yeah,
is
I
a
mean,
development, another
yeah,
business that's
yeah.
going
it's
in.
It's important to
and,
bring economic development and stores to attract people to New York State as well as Cortland, where you live.
Right, right. So, I think that that's very important and something that we certainly need to continue to do.
Debbie Carter.
Costello.
I cannot believe how quickly the time has flown by tonight. Is there anything you would like to say in closing to the people of this district, which my show covers just about the whole district?
Just that I think that we need to restore people's faith in government, that it's a big job, that I'm up to the task, that they can put their faith in me, and I will do what's right, and I will help to change the whole culture of corruption in Albany, and I think that's really important, and I hope that they'll support me.
And is there a number they can reach you at if they're interested in you after seeing you on my show?
Sure.
tonight?
Well, they can go to my website, www.debbieforstatesenate.com. Or they can call my cell, 914-384-5317.
So you'll be very accessible to the people.
I am going to be very accessible, absolutely.
Debbie, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
My viewers, this has been my first in 2016 of Meet the Candidates, a feature on my show for 20 years. I invite all politicians to contact me. I give differing points of view, and once again, I wish you good
Okay.
luck,
Thank
Debbie,
you.
and
Thank you.
good luck this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.